Hello. This is going to be a quick video regarding a tweet I saw and responded to recently regarding the use of masks. I'm not here to prove or disprove anything on the subject of mask wearing. I just want to discuss a publication that was being used as evidence that face masks are not effective at reducing the spread of an airborne virus such as COVID-19. Here's the tweet. It's as if following the science is no longer a thing. The link was to an article on the American Conservative Movement website titled, "Study quietly published at NIH.gov proves face masks are absolutely worthless against COVID." Well, now this is quite a claim. I'm only going to cover a couple parts in the article and look at the publication to see why the article completely missed the point. What I'm trying to show here is not really related to wearing a face mask, but instead how a lack of understanding of different types of publications can lead to people reaching the wrong conclusions. It's something we all have to be careful of. At the end of the day, we always have to honestly ask ourselves if we care about the truth or not. If so, this type of study absolutely cannot be used as evidence of a claim, especially when misinterpreted. We have to take scientific publications as a whole, not cherry-pick those we think support a narrative we believe while ignoring all those that don't. So here we go. The article writes, "Did you hear about the peer-reviewed study done by Stanford University?" Note that an update to this article corrects that the publication author is not with Stanford. That demonstrates beyond a reasonable doubt that face masks have absolutely zero chance of preventing the spread of COVID-19. Again, quite the claim. So let's now look at the publication itself. The publication is titled, "Face Masks in the COVID-19 Era, a Health Hypothesis." Okay, rough start. What is a hypothesis? It's an assumption that's made that is meant to be tested logically and/or empirically. This means that a hypothesis has not been tested, but probably should be so long as it's somewhat reasonable. This alone means this publication cannot be used as evidence of a claim, period. It simply is pushing for more research to be done. But let's keep going anyway. For the most part, this publication focuses on possible side effects of wearing a face mask for an extended period of time, which I agree should be studied, and some people cannot wear them due to other medical conditions. But that's not what the article in the tweet is claiming, so we can move on. But I will briefly come back to this at the end. Looking at the section titled "Efficiency of Face Masks," we can see a few important claims being made. 1. The holes in masks are much larger than the size of the virus itself and therefore ineffective. This is very problematic, as although the virus is only around 100 nanometers and holes in masks get down to a bit below 100 microns, the story does not end here. The virus doesn't float around by itself. It in fact rides small aerosols projected out from your lungs. These aerosols are significantly larger than the virus itself, but the small ones are still smaller than the holes. But again, this isn't the end of the story. When these aerosols travel, they follow what's referred to as Brownian motion. This means that although the particles are generally moving in one direction, they also move randomly back and forth and up and down, making them significantly more likely to get caught in the mask material. In addition, at this size, the electromagnetic force is dominant, causing the aerosols to stick to the mask. So the size argument isn't really valid, and the publication doesn't actually link to any research claiming otherwise, with the exception of using low-quality, low-count fabrics, which are well known to not be very effective. Next, the author links to a study he claimed showed that among symptomatic individuals, there was no difference between wearing and not wearing a face mask for coronavirus particles greater than 5 microns. However, when you look at the linked publication, they are studying surgical masks and state plainly that surgical face masks significantly reduce detection of influenza virus RNA in respiratory droplets and coronavirus RNA in aerosols, with a trend towards reduced detection of coronavirus RNA in respiratory droplets. Our results indicate that surgical face masks could prevent transmission of human coronaviruses and influenza viruses from symptomatic individuals. Again, we'll come back to symptomatic individuals in a bit. So, long story short, the study the author linked to does not support his conclusion regarding the lack of efficiency of surgical masks. Next, the author writes, A meta-analysis among healthcare workers found that compared to no masks, surgical masks and N95 respirators were not effective against transmission of viral infections of influenza-like illness based on 6 randomized controlled trials. Again, this is troubling as the linked study doesn't claim anything about not wearing a mask. The purpose of the study was to see if N95 masks were better than surgical masks, and they found, although N95 respirators appeared to have a protective advantage over surgical masks in laboratory settings, our meta-analysis showed that there were insufficient data to determine definitively whether N95 respirators are superior to surgical masks in protecting healthcare workers against transmissible acute respiratory infections in clinical trials. Again, this article does not support the original author's claims. The worst you can get from this article is that it is inconclusive due to a low confidence index. The third article he links to, at least he's honest about, and says, although the overall findings showed reduced risk of virus transmission with face masks, the analysis had severe limitations to draw conclusions. Okay, again, at worst, the linked study is inconclusive, but does indicate a benefit to wearing masks. He also talks about symptomatic versus asymptomatic infections and their transmission rates. Yes, it does seem that asymptomatic carriers are much less likely to transmit the virus, but unfortunately the virus begins shedding a couple days before symptoms begin to show. This means that people are transmitting the virus when they don't even know they're infected, which makes the asymptomatic aspect of it a bit moot. After this, the author talks about possible side effects of wearing a mask. This is a valid concern and studies need to be done, but most of what he writes about are more extreme oxygen deficiencies from other medical conditions, not from wearing a mask. He simply claims that because these other medical conditions are bad, and masks could reduce oxygen by a small amount, it's possible that for some people a mask could cause more problems. I'm not going to go into all this as it's beyond the primary claim of the original tweet. Now, is there any evidence masks are beneficial at a societal level? Well, yes. Studies do show that immediately after the implementation of a mask mandate, the transmission rates do drop a little. Does it drop enough to warrant the mandate? Well, that's a personal question to answer along the lines of requiring people to wear seatbelts when they're driving and making indoor smoking in public locations illegal. But using this article as evidence, let alone proof that masks are ineffective, means you either didn't read the publication, didn't understand it, or don't actually care if masks are effective or not. You simply have a narrative you want to push. For this last group, truth is irrelevant. At least be honest about it. Well, that's all I have for today. If you take issue with anything in this video, please let me know in the comments, but please provide some sort of evidence, not simply accusations of me being a sheep. If you find what I do helpful, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments below, as it helps more than you might know. Thank you for the view, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.